bit of advice in terms of the job search comes from a colleague of mine, a mentor. She asked me what my number was and what their number was. And I didn't quite understand the context and what she meant, but when we think about how we add value to a company, or when we think about sometimes we think about our value in terms of the salary that we'll earn, or the bonus, or the commission, or the set of experiences that are offered to us. Oftentimes we might have an idea of what our number is, and that might be a qualitative value, or a qualitative kind of approach at a number, or a quantitative number. So what do I mean there? So I think there have been a number of times throughout my career where I have participated and led activities, but not necessarily understood the direct value that I was bringing to the organization, both in terms of, say, retention or new revenue, or I did not go the extra step to understand from a quantitative or qualitative perspective what value I was contributing to an organization. Now, certainly when you know the value that you're contributing to an organization, or to your own organization if you're running a startup, or if you're in a volunteer capacity, when you begin to understand your value, then you begin to understand how the world, the business world, measures that impact. I'm not saying that you have to be compensated in that way, but understanding what value you bring and being able to think thoughtfully and to begin to measure that, again, either on a qualitative or quantitative perspective, then you begin to understand impact and you begin to understand sort of your power and your contribution. And sometimes organizations are very good at helping you understand that. Sometimes they would prefer not to have you understand the impact, because if you understand your contributions to a team, the particular role that you play, then you can begin to assess and say, okay, am I being paid fairly? Am I being compensated adequately? Do I have the right kinds of opportunities that are being presented to me? By the same token, it's equally important to understand the impact when you don't do your job, right? So I've been in a number of organizations where senior leaders have not done their work, have not taken full responsibility and accountability, blamed it on others, blamed it on sort of external events, when it's their responsibility to adjust to those. So the idea, or the question, or set of questions that I'd like you to begin to think about is, what's the value of your work and contributions as an individual and a team when things go exceedingly well? What contributes to that? In some cases, things that you can control, some things that you can't control. And what are the consequences of your not doing your job well? And how do you begin to kind of think about that, not only in terms of the financial cost, but in terms of the people who depend upon you to get your stuff done correctly? But my colleague, when she asked me, did I really understand my number, and did I understand their number, or how people perceived what I was doing, right, either by the president or others in the organization. So that notion of understanding value, responsibility, contributions, impact, power, I think something that I just, thought of myself as a public entity, just doing really, really good work, and that was a bit naive of me. And so now I begin to think about, okay, how do I measure my contribution? How do I measure my responsibility? Why is this important? Because when you're going through a job search, when you're in jobs, when you're managing your career, to understand these means that you have eyes wide open with regard to what's around you, and you're continuing to test the environment, right? Both what's happening in your local city, your state, your region, your country, and around the world, because sometimes the competition, sometimes your awareness of impact and numbers, what their number is, can happen sort of just beyond the horizon, but you need to be paying attention to that. So think about your number, think about theirs, and think about how you begin to measure things in a thoughtful, elegant, and compelling manner, but one that is eyes wide open. Okay, have a good afternoon.